At my sister's wedding, I handed her the deed to a fully paid $420,000 condo. She slid the paper out of the folio, read the address, and then she laughed. She tilted her head back and laughed into the microphone in front of 180 guests. "Eve, this is not the location I wanted," she said, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. "I'm not living in that cheap part of town. It's completely off-brand." People actually laughed with her. It's been months. This morning I went for a hike. I stood on top of a small mountain, breathing in air that tasted like pine and cold, clean quiet. I'm not a fixer. I'm not a scapegoat. I'm not even a daughter in the way I used to be. Drop a comment and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you right now. I'd love to know who's part of our community. You have to understand the smile. It wasn't the smile of a woman who was hurt or embarrassed. It was the smile I use in billion-dollar merger negotiations right before I flay an entire team of opposing counsel. It's the smile that says, "I see you. I've assessed the situation, and I am about to liquidate all your assets." It's my M&A smile. My name is Eve. I'm 37. I'm an M&A attorney, which means I live in a sterile high-rise office on the 50th floor. My life is 100-hour work weeks, 3 a.m. coffee that's always cold by the time I get to it, and contracts that have to be perfect down to the last comma. I am the fixer, the emergency contact, the one who signs the checks, the one who lives by logic and executed documents. My sister Madison is 29. She is an aspiring wellness influencer. Her life is a carefully curated aesthetic. Her job is to live her truth, which apparently involves a lot of artistic lattes, yoga retreats, and talking about authenticity while someone else pays her bills. Everything in her world is content. My parents call her sensitive and creative. What they mean is that the rules don't apply to her. I sat back down in my chair. The scrape of the legs on the hardwood floor sounded obscenely loud in the silence that followed the laughter. And the brutal, cold humor of it all just settled on me. I had analyzed every part of that condo, the foundation, the safety, the financials, the investment value. I gave her stability. I gave her a house. And she had just rejected it because it didn't have the right aesthetic for filming her content. The switch hadn't just clicked. It was locked, loaded, and the safety was off. Here's what those 180 laughing guests didn't know. Here's what the groom Joshua, who was staring intently at his shoes, didn't seem to know. I wasn't just her sister. I was her unwilling and apparently uncredited angel investor. For the last 5 years, I had been the sole financier of the Madison brand. The evidence: I keep receipts. It's what I do. Evidence A. The luxury high-rise apartment she lived in. $3,500 a month. I set up the recurring transfer 3 years ago labeled temp support, because she needed a good backdrop for her videos. Evidence B. The Tesla Model X she drove here tonight. She'd called me crying, saying she couldn't build a sustainability-focused brand while driving a 4-year-old sedan. It was bad for her image. I paid the down payment and the loan is in my name because her credit was and is non-existent. Evidence C. The miscellaneous. The $5,000 business coaching seminars, the professional photo shoots, the wellness retreats to Costa Rica that were vital for content creation. I paid for all of it. You're probably wondering why. Why would I let it go on for so long? It's simple. I was trapped. My mother Jessica had built the perfect psychological prison for me. It was a trap she'd been setting since we were children. Over countless family dinners, she would pat my hand and say, "Eve, you're just so responsible. You're the strong one." And then she'd turn to Madison Sy and say, "And you, Maddie, you're the creative one. So sensitive." It sounds harmless, doesn't it? But it wasn't. It was conditioning. My responsibility became a life sentence. Madison's creativity became a permanent hall pass for being a leech. My worth was measured by my ability to provide, by the hours I billed, by the checks I wrote. Madison's worth was measured simply by existing. Paying for her, enabling her, fixing her messes. That was the only way I was ever allowed to be the good daughter. My generosity wasn't love. It was the price of admission into my own family. And she had just taken that price, that $420,000 check, and laughed in my face. The speeches were a blur, the beef was dry. I just sat there sipping water, my M&A smile frozen in place. I waited until the music swelled and people started moving toward the dance floor, and then I stood up to leave. I was trying to be quiet about it. I almost made it. Eve. I turned. Madison was standing by the donut wall, a ring of frosting on her wrist. She wasn't sad. She wasn't embarrassed. She was furious. "What was that?" she said, her voice a low hiss. "Were you trying to embarrass me? At my own wedding?" I just looked at her. It was a gift, Madison. A gift, Eve. That neighborhood is a dump. It's off-brand. Did you even think about my brand, my clients, Joshua's clients? There isn't even good natural light for filming in those units. I checked the listings. She checked the listings. She knew what it was, and she decided it wasn't good enough. "I can't believe you would do that," she continued, her voice rising. "You're just jealous. You have your boring office and your boring life, and you wanted to ruin my day by making it about you." "Madison, dear, lower your voice." Our mother Jessica glided up, all pearls and practiced smiles. She put a hand on my arm, her nails digging in just slightly. "Eve, darling, don't be so rigid," she said, her voice, that sweet, syrupy poison I'd known my whole life. "You know how Madison is. She's a creative. She just means, well, you can just sell it and help them with a down payment on something nicer." I looked from my mother's smiling face to my sister's angry one. I tried to pull my arm away. "I'm not being rigid, Mom. I'm leaving." Jessica's smile didn't waver, but her grip tightened until it hurt. The sweetness vanished from her voice. "You will not." She hissed, her face close to mine. Her smile still locked on for any guest who might glance over. "Listen to me, Eve," she whispered the words, sharp and fast. "We all have our roles. This is not the night to be dramatic. You are the strong one. You are the responsible one. Your sister. She needs this for her business. She needs a good start. Your father and I, we can't. You know we can't. Don't be selfish just because your feelings are hurt. Don't be selfish because your feelings are hurt." That was it. That was the line. The justification for decades of financial vampirism. I wasn't a person. I wasn't a daughter or a sister. I was a role. I was the strong one. I was the family bank, and my only job was to be open, no questions asked. I looked at my mother's perfectly made-up, desperate face, and I finally understood. She wasn't just enabling Madison. She was the architect of the entire system. "Roles," I repeated, my voice flat. And in that moment, the last bit of me that felt guilty, the last piece of provider's guilt, just dissolved. I looked at my mother, Jessica. Really looked at her. Not as my mother, but as the senior partner in this fraudulent family enterprise. The architect. My M&A smile was gone. This was just my face. I turned back to Madison. My voice was quiet, flat, and had all the warmth of a subpoena. "Madison. The keys to the Tesla. Now." She blinked, the anger on her face, faltering, replaced by confusion. "What? Stop it, Eve. You're being dramatic. It's my wedding." "The keys," I said. "It wasn't a request. The loan is in my name. The insurance is in my name. The registration is in my name. It is my car. I'll arrange for a flatbed to pick it up on Monday, but for tonight I want the keys." "Eve." My mother's voice was a sharp crack. "You will not do this. You will not embarrass this family." That was the line. I turned my head just enough to look at her. "I'm not the one embarrassing this family, Mom. You already took care of that. Both of you." I looked past them through the grand glass doors to the valet stand outside. I raised my hand high and signaled the attendant. Madison saw it. She saw I wasn't negotiating. She wasn't an influencer talking to her sponsor. She was a debtor facing her creditor. Her face crumpled. She fumbled with the tiny, impractical beaded purse she was carrying, her hands shaking. She pulled out the key fob and slapped it hard into my open palm. "You're cruel," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears. They might have even been real. I didn't care. "No," I said, closing my fingers around the warm plastic. "I'm just clear. And I have the paperwork." I turned and I walked. I didn't run. I walked straight out of that reception, my footsteps clicking on the polished floor. I could feel 180 pairs of eyes on my back. I walked out into the cool night air holding a Tesla key fob in one hand and the deed to a $420,000 condo in the other. By 7 a.m. the next morning, I was in my home office. I was on my third cup of coffee. It was scalding hot. It was the best coffee I'd ever had. My M&A brain was fully engaged. This was no longer a family drama. This was a divestiture. I was methodically separating a toxic, non-performing asset from my portfolio. I had already built the 4-step exit plan. Step 1, 7:01 a.m., I emailed my attorney. The subject line was Repayment Agreement by Madison. I attached the very detailed spreadsheet I'd been keeping for years. The Tesla loan, the insurance, the seminars. I asked him to draft a formal demand letter for repayment. Step 2, 7:03 a.m., I logged into my bank. I found the recurring automatic transfer, $3,500. Labeled Temp Support. I clicked Cancel. A small, deeply satisfying pop-up window appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring payment? I clicked Yes. Step 3, 7:05 a.m., I was on the phone with my insurance broker. I removed Madison as a listed driver from my policy. I removed the Tesla pending its sale. Step 4, 7 to 10 a.m., the final firewall. I went through every account I had: Netflix, Amazon, the alarm code for my building, my phone plan. Every shared password, every point of access, I changed it. The purge was complete. I sat back, took another sip of my coffee. It was still hot. It tasted like freedom. I need to rewind just for a moment. Because what I did at 7 a.m. wasn't done in anger. It was done with evidence. When I got home from the wedding just after midnight, I was exhausted. Not just tired, but hollow. I stepped into my apartment, and the silence was deafening. I took a shower standing under the scalding water for a long time, trying to wash off the smell of buttercream frosting champagne and my sister's particular brand of betrayal. When I stepped out toweling my hair, I saw it. A plain white envelope, slipped under my apartment door. No return address. Just my name, Eve, scrawled on the front in a handwriting I almost recognized. I opened it. Inside there was a single handwritten note and a few folded sheets of paper, clearly printouts. The note was from Joshua, the groom. Eve, it said. This is from me, not Madison. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know about the rent, the car, any of it. She told me you just helped out. I found this in her phone drafts while she was in the shower. I'm so sorry for tonight. I don't know what to do. I put his note down and unfolded the printouts. My blood went cold. It wasn't a text message. It was a screenshot of a shared notes app from an iPhone. The title of the note was Eve's Budget. And the shared with icon at the top? It wasn't just Madison. The other collaborator, the co-author of this list, was our mother Jessica. It was a list. Not of things I had already paid for. It was a list of future demands. It was a business plan. Q4 brand investment. Ask Eve by October, $15,000. G-Wagon upgrade trade in Tesla Eve covers difference. Est. $30,000. Down payment for the real house post-sale of cheap condo, $75,000. My hands started to shake. But it wasn't sadness. It wasn't even hurt. It was a rage so cold and so pure. It was almost peaceful. This wasn't just casual toxic entitlement. This was premeditated. This was a long-term financial strategy. This was a conspiracy. My mother wasn't just an enabler. She was the co-architect. She wasn't smoothing things over. She was managing her asset. And that asset was me. I laid the papers on my clean kitchen counter. All the guilt I'd ever felt, the provider's guilt, the don't be selfish, conditioning it all just evaporated. I wasn't leaving a family. I was exiting a fraudulent partnership. That's when I went to bed. I slept for 6 straight hours. And when I woke up at 7 a.m., I wasn't emotional. I was a lawyer executing a contract. A contract I was finally decisively canceling. By 8 a.m., my phone was a wildfire. The family group chat, a place I usually kept muted, was exploding. First, Madison, are you serious? You canceled my rent. Our honeymoon is tomorrow. You're trying to ruin my life. Then an Aunt Eve, your mother is beside herself. How could you be so cruel after everything she's done for you? More from, Madison, you stole my car. I'm calling the police. I looked at the messages piling up this digital tidal wave of manufactured hysteria. I didn't reply. I didn't defend myself. I just opened my photos, selected the screenshot of the Eve's budget shared, note the one with both Madison's and Jessica's names at the top, and I posted it in the group chat. With no comment, the chaos stopped. Instantly. It was as if I'd sucked all the air out of the room. Just dead silence. 5 minutes later, my office landline rang. Not my personal cell. My direct office line, the one reserved for clients and senior partners. A power move. I picked it up. Eve speaking. What did you do? It wasn't a question. It was a shriek. Jessica, my mother. She wasn't crying. She was rabid. I leaned back in my chair. Good morning, Mom. I'm just balancing the books. Balancing the... You've humiliated us. You've ruined your sister, that car. The rent. All those texts from your aunt. You've created a spectacle. I didn't create anything, I said, my voice as calm as the morning. I just stopped paying for the production. Her breath hitched. The rage instantly evaporated, replaced by the tactic I knew was coming, the tears. Eve. Baby, please. We're family. You can't do this to your sister. She's creative. You know how she is. You wouldn't do this to me. I waited until she was finished. I saw the note, Mom. Silence. Not the digital silence of the group chat. This was a heavy, suffocating silence on the other end of the phone. The Eve's budget note, I continued, my voice still quiet. The one you and Madison share. The G-Wagon. The $75,000 for the real house. The Q4 brand investment. I heard a sound. A small, strangled gasp. M&A lawyers go bankrupt all the time, Mom. You know why. They let emotion cloud their judgment. They let a bad deal sink the whole company because they're too attached. I won't be one of them. I'm not going to be my family's bad deal. Eve, wait. Her voice was a desperate whisper. I have to go, I said. I have a call with Tokyo. Good luck with your Q4 investment. I hung up the phone. I didn't slam it. I just pressed the end call button. The small, quiet click was the most satisfying sound I'd ever heard. It's been a month. The family group chat is still silent. I assume they've started a new one without me. That's fine. The $420,000 condo, I never sold it. I rented it out. One of the partners at my firm has a daughter who's a surgical resident at the nearby hospital. She and her partner were desperate for a safe, quiet place they could afford. I gave it to them for well below the market rate. They send me photos from the balcony, pictures of the sunset. They said the quiet, stable place so close to the hospital has been a lifesaver during their 36-hour calls. Funny. Li fait saber. The Tesla Model X is in my garage. I drive it on Sundays just to keep the battery charged. It still smells faintly of Madison's coconut vanilla perfume. But it's fading. Every day it smells a little less like her and a little more like... nothing. Just a car. I didn't delete the Eve's budget spreadsheet. I'm a lawyer after all. We never delete the evidence. I just retitled the file Lessons Learned and archived it. It's Sunday morning, 7 a.m. I'm not on a conference call. My phone isn't buzzing with texts from Madison needing a deposit for a flower wall. I'm on my own balcony overlooking the city. It's quiet. I'm holding a mug of coffee. I take a sip. And for the first time in as long as I can remember, it's still hot. I close my eyes. I can feel the sun on my face. And the strange light feeling of a burden I'd been carrying for so long, a weight I didn't even know I was holding, it was just gone. This story is about finding your breaking point. It's about finally understanding that no is a complete sentence. If you have ever, even for a second, felt like the responsible one in the room, the one who's just expected to hold it all together, share this story. You never know who needs to be given permission to finally put the burden down and take their own life back.